So really, your first homesteading thing was growing your beard.
I guess, yeah, you could.
That gatewayed into chickens.
The beard gateway to the chickens. I like how you put that. Yeah, sure.
So he's been homesteading his beard now for 10 years or more, and look at it. Look at what you could grow.
Yeah,
on less than an acre.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Dean Family Acres. Hey guys, so last week we had someone come out to the farm and they actually did a video collab. So I'm gonna show a little bit of that in today's video, and I'll also link below the video that he actually posted up last Wednesday. So I just want to put a special video out there and just a shout out for folks looking to get into homesteading. So we're in South Carolina, and we're just trying our best to try and connect with other people who have similar ideas and thought processes through things, and they're just looking to learn. And you never know what kind of network you might be able to make with people right around you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and hope that you have a blessed day, and look forward to your feedback.
What's going on, guys? It's another beautiful day. So we're at the first stop on our local South Carolina homestead tour with, this is Matt Dean. You go by Matt or Matthew?
Matt's fine.
Matt Dean with Dean Family Acres.
So we like to say this is God's country up here. A little bit different than the Midlands.
Definitely, I can see that. God's thumb is everywhere.
So we love it here. So Jesse from The Farther You Go and I had a little conversation about beards and about chickens and gardens. And he was great to have on our homestead, and just another opportunity for us to just be able to hang out, make connections, meet new people, and also talk about things that we have in common and things we can learn from each other. And I think it's a great bridge in regards to the next opportunities that we're going to have in the future, and that is we're trying to do some collaborating with fellow homesteaders in South Carolina. So whenever we do that collaboration, that should be coming out in December. So y'all be sure and keep an eye out for that.
We're talking about growing things. How do I grow that? I'm starting. I'm getting a little bit of something.
So it's kind of funny you say it, because everybody always asks about the beard, how long you've been growing it, etc. I don't think I've been clean shaven in almost a decade.
So really, your first homesteading thing was growing your beard.
I guess, yeah, you could.
That gatewayed into chickens.
The beard gateway to the chickens. I like how you put that. Yeah, sure.
So he's been homesteading his beard now for 10 years or more, and look at it. Look at what you could grow.
Yeah,
on less than an acre.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's kind of funny. Someone was asking me. They always ask me about the beard, and like, okay, well, you've let it. I hadn't seen you in a while. I didn't. Or if it's people I see all the time, they're like, okay, I know it's getting long, but I haven't really noticed how long. And so I pulled up a pic. You know, you have the reminders on Facebook. Yeah, memories.
Right.
And it was election day 2020.
Yeah, I think you just posted that on Instagram for the 30 days of things, or 30 Thanksgiving days, something like that.
Yes, one of those.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, wow, that thing was like.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I've put at least 4 inches on this year, and I've trimmed a little bit, but not as much. Number one rule to growing a big beard: don't trim it very much, and absolutely don't cut it. Even if you're like, this is getting on my nerves, don't cut it, because then you're going to see someone else who has a cool beard, and you're like, why did I do that? That's the number one thing.
And so now we can use this as a transition into gardening. So you start small with your garden, and you just keep growing. You keep growing, even if somebody else, don't get. at the house. Not in the house.
You're a
No.
little worried. I
No,
thought you
no.
had a fire going already.
We did.
Okay.
We did. No, we also have central heating and air.
I can give you a side story on that in a little bit. It was about the same here. I mean, it's usually not a couple degrees difference.
Okay.
I will say with the topography being different, and this can happen at your house too, based off of maybe where your house is or where the sun comes and that kind of thing. But microclimates happens
Right,
a lot.
that's true.
I know I don't always think about it or notice it, but especially this time of year, or even early spring or even late spring, when I cut grass and I kind of go down in my bottom that's in the front there, I literally can feel a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely
even,
true.
There's no real trees or there's no shade or anything, but it's just that you're kind of going down in the bottom where that temperature can kind of settle, and that ends up being a different climate. Same with like down where our basement is. We have one of those. When we went to HOA, we have one of those zip up greenhouses that everybody buys from Big Lots or wherever.
Right,
and
right.
The guy who was teaching that said that's a plant cooker.
Yeah. Yeah, we had
You have
one
to
when
be
I-
really careful with them.
Before, my wife and I first got together, and she was like, "I want to grow some stuff." So I was like, "Sure." So again, we
got
we
one?
got it from Tractor Supply.
Okay.
It was just like flimsy little
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And cook it.
They work. You just have to be really careful.
Yeah.
That guy did a really good job explaining that. But the way the sun comes in the evening on that side of the house, and it's brick, it literally will keep things warm.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah, that's one
kind
thing.
of have some mini.
Yeah, we
climates
definitely
there.
didn't know anything about watching the sun. Like we knew, of course, it rises in the east, sets in the west, things
Right.
like that. But knowing where to set your stuff whenever we first ever try to grow anything we knew nothing. So of course we didn't produce very much stuff. And even now, starting, we're in it now for almost a year, and still learning. I mean, we've been on our property for about 5-6 years almost. I would say, oh man, almost more. I don't even know.
Don't
But
blink, it gets worse.
we've been on the property for a good while now, and just now paying attention where the most sun is and like where we should plant stuff. It's amazing how you don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff whenever you're first, or if you're just living,
Right.
just living in your property.
And not just like where you're going to set it out. And this might be what you're saying, but maybe in a little more detail is where to plant a permanent thing.
Right.
If you need some shade there, okay, well, where is that? Where do you want to put that tree?
Right.
And is it deciduous or not, depending on the time of year? Because this time of year, the sun's kind of more comes across this way instead of just straight up over the top, and it can kind of really throw you for a loop if you don't think through and plan and ask questions. But that's one they always say. Whenever you're homesteading, try at least for the first year to just observe if possible.
Right.
Sometimes that's kind of hard if you're buying blank land and
Yeah.
you're like, where am I going to put my house? Well, then you kind of have to do a little more research. But
That's where growing things in pots
yeah.
is good.
with
Because,
your,
we
with your tower,
yes,
I
I've
forget the
got
name of
the
it.
green stalk tower.
green stalk tower.
It's great, but I have 5 cabbages in 5-gallon buckets. Not mainly because I didn't have any specific spot for it, but growing things in pots, you can move them around. We've got 2 pineapples growing in pots, so I can bring them inside and outside because it's starting to get to that point
Right.
where it's going to freeze. So, yeah, like you said, pay attention to your property, but if you're eager to grow stuff, grow it where you can move it. Grow bags are a great example. 5-gallon buckets, anything that you're not going to fill up super heavy that you can move around to follow the sun, because it's a learning process.
Yeah. Good thing to remember about 5-gallon buckets. When we lived in town, the deer pressure got so heavy. I had 40 tomato plants one year, and they ate all but 2 to the ground.
Goodness.
So the next year we planted everything in 5-gallon buckets right near the house so that they wouldn't come and eat everything. But you have to water it a lot more if it's during the summertime.
True.
You have to water it a whole lot more, and you got to think about drainage.
Yeah.
So if you water too much and you didn't have drainage holes in the bottom of your 5-gallon bucket, then
Yeah.
it's not-
I mean, everything's still a learning process, and take what he's saying, because if you don't
Been there,
know,
done that.
now you know. It's honestly it's a great learning experience, because the beauty of growing plants is the fact that you're growing. You can grow a lot, and it's not going to hurt you so bad if you lose 1 or 2 plants because you don't know as much as you could. So, but back on the chickens. Over here you've got your chickens, and and how they're set up. You get pretty good egg.
Not right now.
Well, I know not right now. Right now is the building season.
I've got some freeloaders right now.
Right. That's the best part about chickens. That's why we thinned out our herd too, is to save us some money on chicken feed.
Last year, it worked out really well this time of year, and this is something else to think about and learn. If you get your pullets or your young chicks at the right time of year, and they just start laying right before fall, and that delay in sunlight, they just start laying. They'll lay all through winter.
Yeah, we've got, so our chickens that we got first, the forage thing, they're just old enough now where they're going to start producing eggs, and we're already starting to get about four a day. But we have more than 4 chickens. So the older ones are starting to become multi, and now is when you need to start watching their protein intake, give them more protein so they can build their feathers and keeping them warm. So scratch grain, things like that right before bed, keep them warm, keep their metabolism going at night. So, but the reason I said the chicken part, hold up, were we not filming that whole thing? Are you kidding?
We're about to find out.
Yeah, we were.
Okay, we weren't.
No, we were
gosh.
not filming the whole thing. How did that work? Oh,
That's what it said.
so right here, we're at your barn. You talk about being frugal. Tell me about how you built this barn here.
So during COVID shutdown, I built this barn by myself. Well, with help.
Look at how tall this thing is. I mean, it's not some little rinky-dink thing. It's got a loft that I could probably stand. I'm 5'11", and I could stand in the middle of that thing easily.
The kids keep begging me to turn the loft into like a playhouse or a fort or a tree house or whatever.
Well, you want to, hey, talk about how do I get my kids to help me out there and be like, you want us to be a tree house? You better build it.
That's right. Every piece of metal on this barn is from there at $1 a foot. To this point, other than my lean-to that I've started, which I have not done the video on yet, but to this point, I have $515 into this barn.
That's amazing.
That does not include the gate, but that includes, or the feeder, but everything else, $515, and most of that's metal. The trusses, up here, there was a local portable building place, like metal buildings, that was going out of business, and they had an auction, and I went and bought those for like $20 for the whole set. If you'll notice, I mean, they have some rot on the bottom, but it's never going to get touched.
Yeah.
And if I ever, or when I ever put the metal underneath it, you'll never know.
No.
Again, I've had to buy a few things new, but $515 into this complete barn. I do have a build series on it. Episode 8 actually goes live today.
Okay.
And my goal budget-wise is to stay under $1,000, and that includes the lean-to, which is going to be about another 12 by 30. I think it's going to actually extend past that, so lean-to will be further on.
I think one thing I want to touch on is what was your why? Like whenever you first decided that you wanted to homestead, like when you decided I want to do meat birds or I want to get chickens, like what was your motivation? Like what was your reasoning for why you wanted to start?
I don't think I really knew what homesteading was when I started. I knew that I kind of wanted, we love gardening, we've always liked gardening, and I knew that, hey, I wanted to do something else, and so hey, they've got chickens. I think someone local was selling chickens. I was like, only $15 for 3 or 4. Like, let's get chickens.
Yeah.
So, again, it's the gateway. So we got chickens, and of course that meant I had to build something. So I kind of expanded and built a little run, and then with the meat birds, one of my good friends ran a chicken house, which again, I know, but provided for his family. They don't do it anymore, but they did that, and I was like, we could raise meat birds. Why don't we do that? And then, like, they're right here. I know what they're eating, all this kinds of stuff. So that's how that kind of transitioned. And I think, like, probably in, I don't know, maybe about 2013, 2012, around then, something like that, is when I started watching a little more YouTube.
Yeah.
and you know, before that, I watched YouTube for car stuff, like how to fix a car, how to. I'm a huge car guy too, so I watched it a lot for that. But then I started watching like, okay, gardening. How do you do this, and just learning. I was of the generation that absolutely loved forums. You know, back before social media, forums were the huge thing. When I was coming through college, I don't know how many cars and or other projects I did. If I could have a write-up of what to follow, I was spot on. If it was like troubleshoot this, yeah, not so much. And then kind of YouTube started taking off on that, and I think that's just what drew me to it. I honestly probably didn't know until 2012 or 2013 what it actually was.
So going into it, like what made you want to start sharing? Like what made you want to do YouTube and share like your progress with everybody else who also is deciding to do like what we're doing, and the frugality and growing your own, being self-sufficient.
Right.
Like what sparked that?
There's multiple things there. Number one, they're doing it, why can't I? And I saw some people being very successful with it. I was like, well, shoot, I could do that. Now, obviously, we can talk about that for a while. This isn't going to be just I'm going to shoot videos for, you know, the next 3 months while the weather's nice outside and throw them out there, and then I'm going to have 100,000 subs. That doesn't work. No. And sometimes that's an eye-opener. I see people all the time. I've been doing this for a year. Why is it not going? You know, why is this not going? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. I get discouraged. Like, why am I not getting the views? Why am I not monetized yet, or things like that? It's just, but then you have to think about your why. Like, why am I doing this? I'm not doing this.
No, it's not for the money for sure. Because as I always tell people, someone was asking about chickens the other week, and I said, you can go buy chicken eggs a lot cheaper than you can have chickens.
True.
So it's definitely not for the money at all. A lot of it was, where's my food coming from? And that's what kind of started that process in regards to homesteading. But the why in regards to YouTube specifically was when we moved here, it's a lot of things to do.
Right. Yeah.
We know that we want to have animals. We know we want to have a big garden, all these different things. We could film this. And then even with filming that, for me, it's a record of what we did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
I won't say
so you can go back and look and see like your progress because like you were saying, like you're not going to start and just blow up, but then there could be a day where you're more successful. You're always going to progress, so you're going to be more successful than you were.
Yes,
it's interesting
for yourself to see where you've come from, but also for instance, we have some fruit trees. I've also gotten into landscaping a lot. In 2020, not only did I build a barn, but we planted probably 25 different irises, like flowers, you know, and what that flower was, because when they send them to you, they're labeled, or if you buy them at Lowe's or whatever, they're labeled. And if you ever wanted, I mean, that can be a moneymaker. You know, any of that kind of stuff can be a moneymaker because they multiply and it's really not that much work. If you wanted to sell them, if you've got a name on it, instead of, I've got a purple and yellow iris, but if it's a such and such, okay. So recording that stuff, which pear tree do I have over there? Which apple tree do I have? That tag's not going to stay on there forever unless you've gotten fancy and got the little metal one where you're punching it in, you know. But just being able to have a record of those things on the homestead.
So what kind of okay, so what would you tell yourself, the younger you, when you were starting? What now would you tell yourself about like patience, or would you go faster, or would you go slower? Would you have started? I mean, of course, you're still going to start with chickens. That has been I mean, that's been said that is a gateway. But like moving on to, you know, you've spoken about your goats, and you're looking to get away from goats just because of how your property is, and you've run into some instances where it's not the best for goats, right? Yeah. So like, what would you tell yourself?
I would have done it sooner.
Okay. I agree with that.
Like I said, I mean, we were in town from 2003 until 5 years ago, so like 2016-ish, and I would have gotten a bigger place sooner. Sure. Again, I don't know how financially, you know, that makes sense. Yeah. We ended up buying our current place at the right time. I will say that. I know the market's kind of crazy now, but we bought at the right time. But it worked out. I mean, we looked at probably 25 different places.
where you live and your vision really sparks where you're going to spend your money. And that goes along to your why. Like, why am I growing? Like you said, it's easy to go to the store and buy eggs.
Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed this week's video as we got to visit with Jesse from The Farther You Go. Don't forget to check in next week as we show you exactly what we did on our Thanksgiving holidays and Black Friday. Hopefully you guys will enjoy. As a hint, we checked in with some other homesteaders. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and ring that bell like Mike Tyson did in the 1980s. Have a blessed day.
Hey guys, I also wanted to remind you that Samojo Homestead pointed out that that was a silver maple that we planted in the last video. So be sure and go check that out and check out their channel. They've got a lot of great information also in South Carolina. Hope you guys have a blessed day.